Michael Cohen obliterated by Hope Hicks. She was on the stand in day 11 of the Trump trial, and you remember her as the White House communications director for Donald Trump. As per usual, we'll be checking in with Inner City Press, who's there reporting. All of his links are in the description below, and we encourage you to support him on his Substack and elsewhere. But what happened in day 11? It was spicy because Hope Hicks apparently broke down into tears. She has a long relationship with the former president, hopefully the next one, says that she has been with him for quite some time and even worked officially as his public relations person and political advisor from 17 and 18. She was also comms director from 17 and 18, was also a counselor to the president 20 to 21. And she had been involved for a long time, has gone to some good schools, and we know a little bit about her background. She joined in the 2016 presidential campaign. She was 26 at the time, which is young, but he put her press secretary for the potential presidential campaign. She said, he looked at me, he says, I'm thinking about running for president. Says, what do you think about being my press secretary? She's like, yeah, sure, no problem. After Trump's first primary victories, she was asked to stay on, and she stayed as press secretary. So she's been around for a long time, since some might say the beginning, and maybe was Trump's first pick, and that's where she came from. So she's on the stand here today, and that might explain some of the emotions, right? A lot of history, a lot of background there. What did it look like when this occurred today? Here's one artist's rendition of the scene, and you'll notice we got Hope Hicks there, Donald Trump in the bottom left, and Matthew Colangelo, I believe, is the guy who they have drawn for us, which is the Biden prosecutor, who has come down from Obama to Tish to Biden, now to Bragg, and we're following him everywhere he goes like the bouncing ball that he is. We also have some more imagery here, and this is, you can see the scene, looks like they have the Access Hollywood transcript up there. You know, when you were a star, that tape transcript says, when you're a star, you can do whatever you want in there, or whatever that tape, right? So there's Judge Merchan. Another inside artist rendition is here, Hope Hicks, close-up scene here, and we learned a little bit more about her background. And so now let's get into the trial and the activities, because Hope Hicks is now on the stand, and as we mentioned, Inner City Press reporting, Matthew Russell Lee, and he has a great many places you can support him. We've linked some of those in our description below. We encourage you to do that. We also have him now with the government calling in the witness. Government prosecutor Matthew Colangelo from Biden's office says, the bureaucracy calls Hope Hicks. Trump's lawyer says, objection, Your Honor. He says, come up here. They come up there to his sidebar, talking at the judge's bench. They return. Hope Hicks is now in the courtroom. She's brought up to the bench, sworn in. You promise to tell the truth, God? I do. Please have a seat. Colangelo says, good morning, Miss Hicks. Can you please introduce yourself to the jury? He says, yeah, I am Hope Hicks. I started working in different PR and marketing jobs, originally back at Hicks Strategies. I was in crisis communications for well-known individuals, and I met Ivanka Trump, and then I started to help with her personal brand, and then that evolved, and there were various hospitality initiatives. And did you work for the Trump campaign? Yes, I did. Mr. Trump, at that time, it was Mr. Trump, said he was exploring a campaign. And what do you do now? Well, now I have a communications company. And are you here today under subpoena by the Manhattan DA's office? Yes. And who's paying for your lawyer that's also here today? I am. Not fun. Got to pay for it. Now, when did you last speak with Trump? She says summer 2022. Tell me about how you started with the Trump organization, Miss Hicks. Well, I mean, gosh, it was thriving, you know, gold golf courses and buildings. Don Jr., Eric was there. It was wild. She reminisces. He's like, yeah, shut up. Okay. Were you called into Mr. Trump's office while he was meeting with someone else? You might be getting into that audio. Yeah, I'm sure. He might call in for poll numbers, for example, or positive press about properties. He'd call people in. Well, who did you report to? He says, well, I mean, everyone who works there reports to Mr. Trump, so him. Are you familiar with Keith Schiller? She says, oh yeah, that was Mr. Trump's bodyguard. They were pretty close. How about Ronna Graff, who had already testified here about calendars and contact lists? Remember, Ronna Graff was Trump's kind of personal assistant for a very long time. You know her? Yeah, she was crucial to how everything ran on the 26th floor. Now we have Emil Beauvais, Trump's defense team. Looks like he's moved into the first chair, lead counsel chair. So he's about to get up and cross, and he's been doing a great job of that, obviously, as we saw in the prior segment. And do you know Alan Weisselberg? Yeah. What did he do? Well, he was responsible for all things financial. Mr. Trump lent himself money for the campaign at first, and so he'd help with some of that. You worked on required financial disclosure, didn't you? Yeah. Can you tell us about it? He says, well, we did it, and we put out a press release, so we did our financial disclosures, and we did it. What about Michael Cohen? Do you know him? Yeah, he was the lawyer. He did some legal work. Well, tell us about the campaign then. Yeah, well, Trump said, he just kind of called me. He said, listen, we're going to Iowa. Then we're going to New Hampshire. Then we're going to South Carolina. And I said, okay. And then I became the press secretary. Now, was Mr. Trump focused on press coverage of the campaign? Yeah. What phone did you use, Miss Hicks? The last four digits, 0226. And do you know David Pecker? Yes, he was the editor of the National Enquirer. And do you remember being in seen a meeting with the two of them? No. Did you ever hear phone calls? She says, yeah. Well, there was one after the National Enquirer story about Dr. Ben Carson. I remember that one about Ben Carson, yeah. Oh, what was that about? Something about medical malpractice, I think. Something like Mr. Trump, he was excited about it. He said it might be Pulitzer Prize worthy. He says, this is great, love it. There was a story about Ted Cruz, which to this day, no court of law has proven that Ted Cruz is not the Zodiac killer. And there was another one about Lee Harvey Oswald. Also, probably year after year, Pulitzer Prize, 3 years back to back. Great job. It's just ridiculous. Now, government says, did you become aware of the Access Hollywood tape, Ms. Hicks? Come aware of that? Yeah, I got an email from the Washington Post. I remember I was on the 14th floor at the time. What'd you do? Well, I forwarded the email to Steve Bannon and to Kellyanne Conway, who was there, and to Jason Miller. Now, did you say in your email, deny, 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 exclamation point? She looks at it. She says, ha, yeah, I guess I did. I didn't see that the whole transcript was there. Yeah, I mean, I guess it made the strategy harder. So yeah, Trump's looking down. Trump's taking notes. She says, Mr. Trump was doing debate prep and he saw the five of us talking. And so he asked us to come in. He's walking around. Hey, come into my office for a minute. What did he say? He said about the tape. What did he say about the tape? Well, he said it didn't sound like something that he would say. He's like, I don't even remember saying that. Brad, what? I would never say that. Were you with Mr. Trump when you saw the video? Yeah, I was. And how did he react? He says, oh, he was upset. I mean, he knew it wasn't good, but it was locker room talk. You know, it's pretty standard stuff for two guys chatting with each other. He was just upset. It's like, oh, great. And they dropped that intentionally. It was like his big thing. Trump had a women problem. I'm like, oh, great. That's going to be the end of it. Hillary's like, yeah. What did Trump say should be done? He said, well, he said we should put out a statement. And so I got the email at 1:30. The story was posted at 3:30, those scumbag Washington Post. We got a story. Do you have any comment? Oh, they didn't comment. And we had our statement out by 4 o'clock. It said, Bill Clinton has said far worse. Did you post a video about that? Yeah, we did. We did post a video. And the juries brought and read a statement about the one that came from Georgia about a post. Well, what was the media response, Miss Hicks, when all this came down? She says, oh gosh, it was intense. It dominated the news cycle until the debate. News about a Category 4 hurricane fell away. Okay, we had our own Category 4. Did prominent Republicans come out and condemn Mr. Trump, says Biden's prosecutor, Matthew Colangelo? She says, yeah. Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney, you know, the usual group. What does she mean by usual group? Losers. Did Paul Ryan disinvite Trump from a campaign event in Wisconsin? Objection! Judge says, overruled, I don't care. Did Mr. Ryan say he was sickened by Mr. Trump? She says, well, it sounds like something he would say because he's such a spineless weakling. It makes me sickened. Okay, why don't you just go raise some more money with Romney for Ukraine? And what about Mitch McConnell? Does this refresh your recollection? He said it was repugnant and unacceptable. Mitch McConnell, who is barely functional. Senator Mitch McConnell. Who was John McCain? He was a senator. Objection! Sustained. Finally, are we gonna go down the list? Who else? Did Speaker Ryan do a call with House members? And do you know what he said? Your Honor, objection! May I be heard at a sidebar? They go up to the sidebar. He sustains it. Hopefully he's like, what the hell are we talking about? A House call with Speaker? What? Yeah, so he's like, the judge cuts him off, right? He's objecting. Judge, okay, cuts him off. How far are we going with this? It's not even relevant at all. Cuts him off. Prosecutor comes back. Finally. Gosh. Did you reach out to Michael Cohen, to Miss Hope Hicks? Yeah, I did. There was about a rumor that there was another tape out there. And so I asked him to call a media friend of his. And did Mr. Cohen follow up? I think he made the call. And turns out there was no such tape. And we were at the debate on Sunday in St. Louis, I remember. The Access Hollywood tape was like the first question. After the debate, there were more reports. And did you attend the rally in Greensboro, North Carolina on October 15th? Yeah, I did. And you remember this? And there's some audio that's played. Someone says, if 5% of people believe it, we don't win. Which are probably true, right? It's very close. Our elections are razor thin. Who had the permission to post on Trump's ex-Twitter account at the time, @RealDonaldTrump? Who could post on that? Only Mr. Trump and Dan Scavino. They're the only ones who had control. Had you heard of Karen McDougal, Ms. Hicks? Yeah, I heard about her. November 2016. And what about Stormy Daniels? Yeah, in 2015, there's something about a celebrity golf tournament. That's how I know about her. And after I got the email from the Wall Street Journal, I thought maybe through Rupert Murdoch, you know, we could buy some time or something. So I forwarded it to Jared Kushner. He had a relationship with Rupert Murdoch. Government says, okay, probably looking at emails or text messages. Okay, we move this into evidence, offer this. Judge says, admitted. Now, when you were doing these things, did you ask Michael Cohen for input? Says, yeah, actually, he edited my draft statement on, I guess, the letter to Rupert Murdoch. Or maybe the statement. He edited my draft statement. Maybe the statement they released publicly. And did you speak with Mr. Trump? Yeah, he wanted to have an understanding. You know, I told him what Mr. Pecker said to me, that it was a legitimate contract for services. So now we're still talking about McDougal and that deal. Because remember, David Pecker was the National Enquirer guy. So it's about that contract, not Stormy. Now, he did not want to use the statement that we had drafted. He wanted to write his own, Trump said. A denial, and that we didn't know anything about this deal. So the story breaks. So it's the Wall Street Journal story that breaks about McDougal. I think we had the other one was the Washington Post, if I'm not mistaken, before. So he did not want to use that statement. He says, we didn't know anything about this deal. Now, when you learned that Stormy Daniels would also be in the story, did you also talk with Trump? Yeah. Yeah, and he said, deny everything. Okay, I thought the story was not about, certain behavior, is what she says. I thought the story was not about certain behavior. The judge calls a break. And they're back after the break. Trump is speaking with his attorney, Emil Beauvais. Judge says, bring the witness out. Miss Hicks, I remind you, you're still under oath. Jury comes in. Matthew Colangelo continues. Miss Hicks, did you witness a call between Mr. Trump and Mr. Cohen about this? He says, well, after Ohio, we flew by Hershey, Pennsylvania, and we were getting into a car, and I heard Mr. Trump, but there's nothing memorable about the call. I don't really remember. Where did you start the day on that day? In Maine. And the story about Karen McDougal, I quoted it to you. Can you read it? It says, we have no knowledge of any of this. Untrue. Now, did Mr. Trump tell you to say that? Well, that was the consensus. By who? Mr. Trump? Well, the main point was that there was no romantic affair. That was the point. So I'm going to show you up your grand jury testimony. It kind of feels like your story's changing here a little bit. So I want to show you what you said before when we had you come in and talk to the grand jury. She says, well, look, okay, fine, you can show me that, but as I sit here right now, I don't have a strong memory of him telling me we have no knowledge. Okay, these were very hectic conversations, so I don't remember. She said, okay, thanks for that. But you said, when you were testifying in the grand jury, you said, it says, Mr. Davidson also represented Stephanie Clifford, right? That's the lawyer, Keith Davidson. He represented McDougal and Clifford. Now, did you text with Mr. Cohen about any of this? She says, yeah. I sent him texts on November 4th and 5th, 2016. Michael was asking me, any news? He wrote, I don't see it getting much play. She laughs. Little irony there, she says. Yeah, got a lot of play. Michael Cohen was wrong about that too, idiot. Okay, then what happened? Michael said it's getting little to no traction. Now, Michael Cohen wrote that he had a statement from Stormy, right? Cohen says, I had a statement from Stormy. What did you take that to mean? She says, I didn't know and don't know. I just wanted to blow past it and keep going. I asked for David Pecker's number. Mr. Trump wanted to speak to Pecker, and Mr. Trump was concerned about how his wife would see it. Oh no. Wow, that's weird. So there's another explanation. It's not just about a campaign. It might also be about your personal reputation and your marriage and your business interest as a billionaire with multiple brands and multiple businesses, which is why you don't want even allegations to come out. It's not all about an election. There are many other justifications for why he would do this, but they're calling it election interference because they're maniacs. He was concerned about how his wife would see it, obviously. Honey, no, okay? This Playboy, I never had anything to do with her. He asked me to make sure the newspapers weren't delivered to their residence next morning. Oh gosh. Can you imagine that's your life? You're like, oh gosh, how am I going to talk to my wife about this one? She already saw it on Twitter. Like, you son of a, When did you start working in the White House, Miss Hicks? January 20th, 2017. And I left between 18 and 2020. And where did you work when you were there? I sat just outside the Oval Office. There were 2 desks. There's a vestibule with a mini fridge and a coffee machine. It was nice. And who was in the second desk next to you? She says, Madeline Westerhout, who we also knew was going to come up. Now, Miss Hicks, were you aware that Karen McDougal sued AMI to be released from her non-disclosure agreement? Or I've recently been refreshed. I now know. And these text messages between you and Madeline, the other woman who's Trump's also, like mega assistant, sat there. These text messages between you and Madeline, did your lawyer produce them under subpoena? So they're going after, like, even their text messages. Okay, these people are so sick. They're going after coworkers. There's like, well, what's going on? What are you doing? What do you want to get for lunch today? You want to go for a walk? What's up? Did you see the show? Yes, last night? Yeah, you got all those too. Now, when the Stormy Daniels story resurfaced, what happened next? Trump told me that Michael had paid about a false allegation with his own money. Okay, so Trump told me, Michael, after Stormy came out, what happened next? It's all done now. Trump told me Cohen had paid a false allegation with his own money. So Cohen's. Now, is that consistent with what you knew of Michael Cohen? No, he was not charitable, right? So why would Michael Cohen pay with his money? Like, Cohen's not going to ever come out of his pocket. And so the prosecutor thinks this is like amazing. No further questions and walks away. I'm not impressed. Cross-examination. Emil Beauvais is up, Trump's defense attorney, and it's about to get a little emotional. Emil Beauvais says, good afternoon, Miss Hicks. The Trump organization created the communications position for you specifically, didn't they? Yes. She starts crying. He did. Trump created this for me. A lot has been provided through that amazing position. She starts to break down. Judge says, Miss Hicks, do you need a break? Seems she does. Jurors, please step out. Trump is talking to Emil Beauvais and Todd Blanche. Hicks is back. She apologizes. Sorry about that. Now, you called it a family business, Miss Hicks. Is that right? She says, yes, it is. And you said Mr. Trump's relationship with Rana Graff was respectful, wasn't it? And she was, again, Trump's another right-hand person, handled a lot of stuff before the presidency. presidency. She left, I think, before the presidency when he moved into the White House. It was really respectful, wasn't it? Yeah, I really respected Ronna, says Hicks. And then for the campaign in 2015, 2016. Now, Mr. Cohen wasn't a part of the campaign, right? No, but he would try to insert himself here and there. And Mr. Cohen was supposed to focus on Trump's business credentials. Is that right? As a surrogate for Trump's business credentials? Yes. Michael Cohen, it's true, he went rogue at times, didn't he? He did. Yeah, he did. He liked to call himself a fixer. Only because he first broke it, she laughs. Cohen breaks it, then he fixes it, then he claims he's a fixer. And he thought he was going to be the Attorney General of the United States, which actually might be a great role for him since they break everything anyways, including American justice. I don't know, he could do a worse job than Merrick Garland. All right. So Trump's attorney, Emil Bove, continues. Now, President Trump's calls with David Pecker, they didn't stick out, right? Because he often spoke with the press. Like this was kind of a normal thing. He says, right, yeah, he does a good job of maintaining a relationship with the media, even if they're negative on him. Ms. Hicks, you would agree that campaigns kind of promote themselves at times? Yeah. And they actually promote themselves. Like that's part of their job is to promote themselves. Yeah. That might include probably, buying ads. Yeah. Talking to magazine owners. Yeah. Doing interviews, stopping negative stories. Now, campaigns do negative social media too, right? She says, well, I've only been on one campaign and it was a great one. She's like, right to the Super Bowl, first season. Whoo! Got a Super Bowl ring. That's pretty good, man. And it was great. Did you travel with a laptop? Yeah. Did you send many messages when you were doing this work? Oh, yeah. And there were consistent and constant inquiries about negative stories, weren't there? Yes, there were. And getting together to discuss coverage of these stories, it wasn't strange at all, was it? No, it wasn't. And there was the leak of President Trump's tax ingo. Now, you also met with that tax ingo. Yeah. And October 8th, he was worried, right? Yeah. How it'd be seen at home. Oh, maybe the leak of Trump's tax records. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he was worried about how they'd be seen at home. And Ms. Hicks, you've also met Mrs. Trump, right? Yes. And says, President Trump, Melania? Yeah, he really respects her. She doesn't weigh in much, but when she does, Trump really listens. Now, Ms. Hicks, in 2017, you didn't have anything to do with the business records of the Trump organization that was 200 miles away from you, did you? The business records? Did you have anything to do with those at all? No, I didn't. Great! Again, that's another good moment, man. This Emil Bove is pretty solid. No, I didn't. Oh, good, because this whole crime is about 34 business records. So what the hell are you doing here? No, I didn't have anything to do with them. No further questions. Thank you for your irrelevant testimony. Now, I'm sure he's being very nice to her. I think she's a friendly. She's there under subpoena, under Bragg's and Colangelo Biden prosecutors' order. So he drops the mic right there. No further questions. Government says, yeah, I have nothing. No, of course you don't. Judge says, please approach. Anything else that we need to handle today? Anything else? Okay, fine. We're going to call it a day. He says, okay, go back to your bed. They go back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, jurors, we are going to call it a week. Remember, have a great weekend, but do not read the news. Jurors and other people leave, but not inner city press, baby. Matthew Russell Lee doesn't leave. Judge says, all right, we can continue with the Sandoval hearing. And the Sandoval hearing is the parade of horribles. It is the litany of prior bad acts that they can try to impeach Trump with if he does decide to testify. Todd Blanche is your honor. We can't add your contempt findings to the Sandoval case. It's like in this case, like you can't add what you've done, holding him in contempt and sanctioning him, fining him $9,000. You can't hold that against him. Government says, you sure as hell can. The Court of Appeals has said the contempt findings can be heard, your honor. The judge actually gives this to Trump, says, no, they're not going to be heard here. Okay, you have enough in your little stupid filing. So this is adjourned. And of course, all of this brought to us by Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press reporting. Now, Trump came out and he had some statements after the day wrapped up in trial. And here is what he said after day 11 on a Friday.
So I'm not allowed to comment on any of that. As you know, I'm under a gag order, which is very unprecedented. But I will say this, that the government, DOJ, et cetera, and in particular lately this office of DA, which is letting crime, violent crime, run rampant all over our city. What they've done to people in my company, they've been after us for years. You take a look at what's happened. Democrats, the radical left, they've been after us for years, and they've destroyed people's lives. They've gone out, hired lawyers. They've been with lawyers for years, been sucked dry, and it's a shame. It's a shame what they've done to this country, and it's a shame what they've done to a lot of great people that have been absolutely ruined and destroyed, not only here, all over. These are vicious, radical left lunatics. The DA here is Soros back. They shouldn't be wasting time on this. Look what they do to so many people. They're all lawyered up. That's all they do, lawyer up. In the meantime, you can't do anything in the country. The country's going to hell. They have no time. They have no anything left. because they're always under siege. It's a terrible thing happening in our country, and hopefully November 5th, the most important day in the history of our country, in my opinion, that's called Election Day. Hopefully it's going to change, because these people are destroying our country, whether at the border, whether the horrible reports that came out today of jobs numbers with all you hear, whether inflation, which is destroying us, a lousy economy, Afghanistan, allowing Russia to attack Ukraine would have never happened. Then you take October 7th.
It's pretty bad. There's a big list there. There's a lot going on. Yeah.
All of these things happening.
There's a lot.
And all they do is they go after people. They destroy people. And it's a shame. So I just want to wish everybody a very good weekend. I was very interested in what took place today. But I just have to say, we have a country to build. We have to rebuild it. Our country has gone to hell. We're a nation in decline, and we cannot let that happen to the USA. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll see you back next week, of course, for day 12, which will start on Monday. And shout out to Benny Johnson for clipping those for us here today. But that was day 11. Hope Hicks was on the stand, and you can see that was kind of short. And I thought that Bove did a very nice job. Do you have anything to say about these business records, so-called? Do you have any role in those? Know anything about them? Nothing. Nothing at all. Okay, great. Not even relevant. Why are we here? Looked at the jurors. Sorry for wasting your time with another witness. We'll see who comes up next when we are back here on Monday. Thank you for joining us as we do. We're just getting started on this trial. We'll be covering it in depth just like this. So thanks for sticking around and following along. We appreciate you subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. Thanks for liking it. Thanks for inviting someone you know or love, sharing it with a friend or family member, saying, hey, they're going through the trial here. It's not publicized live or broadcast live, but this is what we can do to recreate it. So thanks for inviting them on over. We have a great members only community where we do live streams every morning, 6 days a week, including on Saturdays. We have an amazing community at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We'd love to have you come join us. We talk about a bunch of other stuff that we can't get to here, and it's a great way to support the show and have some fun doing it. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We'll see you over there and back here on the next one.